And they had an art cinema there. And I don't know why I went in there, I have no idea. But I walked past and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. And went in, and it was L'Avventura was playing. And I went, oh, I had no idea that that's what movies could be like. And that was when I sort of fell in love with the film. I met Monica Vitti many years later. I was struck dumb with, you know, awe. I could hardly speak because she'd made such an impression on me in that film.
Well, she was amazing. It's an amazing movie, but it's not the easiest movie in the world. It's not like, oh, I like The Wizard of Oz or something like that. You know, it's a very much an art film.
No, but you know, there's all Italian and, you know.
I do. I dream of being Monica Vitti.
Yes, me too.
But did you think more about the stage at that point? I mean, you say in the book, which I think is so interesting, that you are glad that you never went to drama school, that you felt that drama school would have been not the best idea for you.
It might have been destructive.
Yeah.
I think drama school is a very difficult thing for kids to go through. And it's a hothouse of jealousy and ambition and fear and criticism, and I think I might have wilted. It might have been too much for me. So I was lucky. I trained as a teacher. I was the most incredibly disastrous teacher.
What did you teach?
I taught sort of an eclectic things.
You have good communication skills. You might have been.
Well, no, I wasn't. I mean, I couldn't control them. You know, it was like I could not. I'd only been in school myself like 9 months before, and I could not bring myself to say with authority, "Sit down and stop talking and open your books." You know, I couldn't do that. I go, "Oh, do you want to open your books?" Okay, well, I understand. I really dig it if you don't. You know. I was absolutely useless. My sister became a teacher and was a wonderful teacher, but I was useless. And one of the classes I tried to teach, because I'd only just arrived in London myself, and I was blown away by London architecture. You know, the beauty of London architecture, and I started trying to learn about it. Then I thought, I know what, I'll teach a class about London architecture. I was teaching at that time, I don't know if any of you know London, but I was teaching at a school in Bethnal Green, which is very, very, as you say, inner city, working class, you know, community, a lot of black kids, very noisy, and, you know, pretty wild. And so I thought, you know, I'll say, I'm going to do a little course about London architecture. Oh, okay, miss. You know, and so I say, and I was talking about Regent Street, which is the main street in London. And this was Bethnal Green, which is about 3 stops down on the tube. So I said, for example, Regent Street, you know, next time you walk down Regent Street, look up at the beautiful colonnades above, and you know, this was built then. Miss, where's Regent Street? I said, well, it's in London. Yeah, where, miss? Where is it? Never heard of it. And I couldn't, and then I realised, and they were telling me the truth.
Wow. I
said, well, it's in the West End, which is the centre of London. So when these were like 15-year-old kids, 15, you know, about 14, 15. So when you go to the West End, where do you go? Oh, what, when we go up west, miss, yeah. Well, we go to Tottenham Court Road. Tottenham Court Road is only 2 stops. And I realised they'd never heard of Chelsea or Knightsbridge, and they were Londoners. Wow. But they lived in their own little community, and just in that little closed community. So
but that could easily have happened to you. I mean, you came from a very small place, no? I mean...
well, it wasn't not a small place, but a dormitory town. I don't know what the equivalent is here in New York, but
you must have, were you restless? Were you restless as a...
Oh yeah, the big city was, you know, banging its drum, definitely, calling to me, hello!
So what would you say was your first part that
I didn't want to get married and settle down in Southend-on-Sea. I knew that wasn't in my destiny.
And your destiny turned out to be very much elsewhere. Did you have what was the first play that you were in that you felt, okay, this is it, there's no turning back after doing this particular part?
Professionally,
Yes.
or before I became professional?
Either.
There is never that moment as an actor. You know, you're always insecure about the next job. You know, you never think you've cracked it.
No, I don't mean cracked it so much as you knew that there was no turning back in the sense of I'm not going to be a teacher, you know, I'm not going to have another day job, so to speak.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is you never know that.
It's hard for me to believe that at this point.
Well, especially early in your career,
Yes.
because, you know, it is about the most insecure
Right.
profession in the world. You know, you have no tenure, no safety net at all, and at any moment the profession could get tired of you and never employ you again, and many actors face unemployment for long, long, long periods of time. So, I guess as you know, the security that, oh, I am going to make a living doing this, probably didn't hit me till I was in my 30s.
Oh, really?
Probably. Up to then, anything can happen, really. But in terms of falling in love with drama, I guess, for want of a better word, was going to see a production again in Southend-on-Sea, where I grew up. I guess I was about 15. And my mum did take me to see an amateur production of Shakespeare and of Hamlet. It was partly all the boys in tights, I have to say. You know, it was partly that.
Yeah.
And, you know, of the romance of Ophelia.
Exactly.
And, you know, when you're 15, you know, you want to die in a river.
Yeah.
With flowers in your hair. It's a lovely idea.
And you want to be named Ophelia.
And you want to be named Ophelia anyway,
exactly.
Absolutely. And, you know, seeing that play as a 15-year-old, I don't think I'd read it at the time. I don't think I really knew what happened in the play. And it's so exciting to watch a Shakespeare play not knowing what the plot is,
right.
as well as having all that incredible poetry and the amazing characters. To say, oh, what happens next? You know, not knowing what happens next is fantastic. So I loved it, and I went back and I started reading Shakespeare, but not intellectually at all, because I've still to this day I find it quite hard to understand. But just for the glory of those characters and those stories, and then I found Joan of Arc in Shakespeare. You know, Joan of Arc in Shakespeare is a wicked witch. She's not a, you know, wonderful heroine, because of course she was the enemy. You know, she was the one who beat England, and Shakespeare writes her as a mad, psychotic, you know, schizophrenic, voice-hearing maniac. You know, it's fantastic, and she's a great role. And she's spitting with anger and vileness, and she's you know, and all these incredible characters. Margaret again in the histories, but the histories are full of these incredible characters. And anyway, so I fell in love with the imaginative world that drama offers to you.
Well, I think also one of the things that's striking in the book, if we can go to the next picture, I'll give you a pictorial before we, is that it's always good to have a picture. I believe, and there's an article here about you that was when you were performing in Shakespeare in Stratford.
Don't look so disingenuous.
The title of this article, which I can't show you, but I will read, is Stratford's Very Own Sex Queen. You were quite, I mean, I think for many people who know you as the Queen, it's striking. The book is quite striking in